G'day everyone. My name's John McLaughlin. I'm with Golf Savannah NRM. I'm doing a presentation today about the eBeef project, specifically about the processes that went into place for a variety of the technology trials. And I've got a pre-recorded video presentation because the connectivity up here has been troublesome to say the least. And so I think I'll actually do a reintroduction again in the first 30 seconds of that, but I'll be online as well to take questions throughout. So if Jonathan can get the video started. Good afternoon. My name's John McLaughlin. I'm the Rangelands Project Officer at Golf Savannah NRM. And this afternoon, I'm just going to be talking about the eBeef project, which is an effort to support the grazing community and the environment by promoting the adoption of new and emerging technologies. So a bit about the project to start. The project team involves 4 different organisations. We've got the Department of Ag and Fisheries, or DAF, playing a coordination role over the entire project area. Then we have Southern Gulf NRM, Golf Savannah NRM, or formerly Northern Gulf Resource Management Group, and finally Desert Channels Queensland. And as you can see, the project has a fair footprint over most of the Queensland rangelands. And the project goal, as it was set out in the activity plan, is to implement grazing best management practice by demonstrating how timely management decisions can enhance pastures, ground cover, soils, land condition, business profitability, and adaptability. That's a bit of a mouthful. And as we were going through the project, we sort of developed a new goal that we think more neatly fits in with the objectives of the project itself. And I've stolen a quote here from Dirt to Soil because I think it actually fits in quite nicely. If you want to make small changes, change the way you do things. And if you want to make major changes, change the way you see things. Ultimately, in this project, we are trying to initiate a paradigm shift in the community of graziers we are working with so that they consider the new possibilities and opportunities of digital technology. So this involves a complete education and upskilling in ag tech and providing awareness of what options are out there and walking graziers through the process of successful technology adoption. So what have we been doing? Well, step 1, we've been making graziers aware of the new technologies that are available to them. Step 2, we've been providing the connection for graziers to speak with technology providers and sales staff. Step 3, we've provided the opportunity for graziers to actually trial new and emerging technologies. Step 4 is developing a framework for the effective adoption of new technologies. Step 5, assessing the value of adopting the new tool or technology. And then step 6, which is sort of what I'm doing today, is sharing those experiences with the broader grazing community. And on the board there is a list of what trials we've been involved in and what trials have been involved in the project. And you can see there's over 10 listed on the board there for you, with a new one just kicking off over the next couple of weeks with the satellite GPS ear tags, or the CERIS tags. But we've had a whole list of technologies that are still, or that have been trialled or either are being trialled. So we've got walkover weighing, remote walkover weighing via True Test. We've had cellular GPS ear tags with movement virtual fencing with Adlison's eShepherd. We've got water supplementation ongoing trials at the moment. OptiWave remote weighing options. So a whole list, an array of technologies have been involved in the project. But we've quickly realised how difficult it can be to coordinate technology adoption projects, and technology trials are hard. Our team consists of people with specialties in ag science or something similar, as you'd expect. And being involved in the project was certainly an eye-opener for most of the staff. Naturally, we were more attracted to how technologies relate to specific production outcomes or land management goals, rather than the technology itself. So we've learned how important it is to focus on the art of effective implementation, and are hoping to develop a guide that can inform future agricultural extension projects that have a similar aim to this one. So over the next 10 minutes, I'll be focusing my attention on step 4, which I've sort of enlarged for you on the screen there. And that's to develop a framework for the effective adoption of new tech. So it was common for us to get really excited at step 2 when you found a technology that you liked the look of, that you wanted to investigate in further detail. Then you'd rush through step 3 and try to get the trial happening as quickly as possible. You'd barely blink at step 4 with the intent of trying to get to step 5, where we could really begin to test and quantify the value of these technologies to the individual business or the property owner. But step 4 is the most critical step in this process. This is the step that allows you to unlock new value and possibilities. But if you fail to adopt effectively, the rest of the process falls apart. The producers get frustrated, they lose trust in the product, the trial fails to live up to the expectations, and suddenly the entire trial's in trouble. This project has never been about identifying or analysing any specific tool or technology. What we are trying to do, though, is to give people skills, understanding, and a framework so that they can effectively adopt digital technologies in the future. And hopefully the work we've done will help to inform ag extension projects that involve digital technology moving forward as well. Ag tech in the beef industry. So digital technology and projects that involve digital tech are relatively new to the extensive beef industry that dominates a fair chunk of the Australian rangelands. But we know that this part of our industry is going to continue to grow. So for example, 3 years ago at Beef 2018, there were just 4 exhibits in the ag tech sector on show. Fast forward to Beef 2021 a few months ago in Rockhampton there was almost 30. So we've jumped from 4 to 30 in a matter of years, and this sector and its influence in the industry is continuing to grow rapidly. And if we as extension staff and organisations are going to contribute to this space, well, we need to build organisational capacity and industry knowledge on how to design, plan, deliver, coordinate, and then communicate technology adoption projects. If we do this, then we stand a chance at allowing these new tools and innovations to actually provide real impact for the landholders, the environment, regional communities, and then the broader grazing industry. So when you're designing a project, now project design is obviously critical to setting up the long-term direction of any project. But some critical steps at this stage include 3 points on the screen for you. Identify the level of digitization in the community you plan to deal with as step 1. And this will determine the level of complexity that you're able to design into a project. So low levels of digital skills and literacy could mean that the successful adoption of the technology is complex enough, without adding additional layers of complexity by also monitoring things like business performance or land condition health. Consider what factors are essential to monitor in order to measure success. Point 2. If there are too many factors being monitored as part of the trial, it does have the potential to detract from ensuring the successful adoption of the technology. Finally, step 3, integrate agility when possible into the design process, making aspects of the project modifiable when you can. So this might involve including stop-go checkpoints that allow funding and resources to be shifted, away from parts of the project that aren't working so well. and divert them towards areas that do have momentum and producer group support or producer support. Another umbrella or key aspect of technology adoption projects is to select the technologies to trial. And it doesn't take a genius to work out that the technologies that you choose to trial are going to be integral to the project itself. But it isn't as simple as it sounds. And I've provided just a couple of points on the board for you that talk to this. So a crucial preliminary step is to work out what sort of product you plan to deal with when it comes to their level of commercialization. So this is making the distinction between R&D activities, helping an organization to test a concept and make alterations, versus commercial products that are seeking to boost adoption and find use cases, which is essentially the adoption step, where the adoption comes in. When you are working with digital technologies, this distinction is not always clear, but it is certainly essential. And you need to make sure that if you're doing an extension or adoption, project, that you are dealing with commercial products that are seeking to boost adoption rather than to make alterations or to test a concept. The second point on the board there is to categorize technologies when investigating them to help define their value proposition and their core function. So for example, if technology might improve efficiency, it might save time or provide new insights and information, and so on. So the category of the technology is often associated with how easy or difficult a technology may be to adopt and then to fully utilize for any grazier. Finally, it pays to understand all the costs that are associated with a new technology, as digital tech is notorious for having hidden costs. These might be installation costs, freight costs, subscriptions or softwares, additional infrastructure requirements, and so on. So yeah, it quite literally pays to make sure that you're well across the entirety of the expenses associated with adopting a particular product. The site you select for your trial will also have a lasting impact on the project. There's a few main points to consider here that I've got on the screen for you. Firstly, and most importantly, it's critical that you involve the technology providers in this step. They know their product the best and can provide insights into how best to utilize it and what a suitable landholder or business might look like. Secondly, you want to ensure trial sites are easily and readily accessible. This will vary depending on the technology and its categorization, but it's ideal to have sites that are close in terms of their proximity to project staff and roads and are accessible for as much of the year as possible. Third point on the board there, you might find that some products require other infrastructure to be in place to function properly. Again, this comes back to understanding the technology and involving the providers, tech providers from the outset. Fourth point, your landholder partner is absolutely essential. To make sure you find the right landholder, conduct something like a simple EOI process and don't be afraid to interrogate their reasons for wanting to trial a specific tool or technology. Finally, consider the impact of the trial on any specific grazing business when selecting a trial site. It might be in the project's interest to try to find landholders to whom the trial would be significant as a way to ensure buy-in. So those are 4 simple points that you can keep in mind when selecting a trial site. Monitoring of technology trials. Well, this is definitely easier said than done, but the trick is to keep it simple. What you're trying to do is undertake an exercise to measure the utility and functionality of a technology. As you work your way through this, remember to keep asking yourself 2 key questions. Can you reasonably link the output of measurement that you are recording to the adoption of the technology? Second, how will the information being collected be analysed at the end of the project to evaluate success against the outcomes? Keeping in mind that monitoring can be exhausting and resource intensive, so make it simple but make it impactful. And now just wrapping up. So there can be no doubting that digital technologies have the potential to be transformative to the ag industry and to ag businesses. But the adoption of these new and innovative tools remains a major challenge for the sector, and particularly for our remote, extensive beef industry. The eBeef project has taught us a lot about an array of digital technologies that are entering our industry. However, the biggest lesson we've taken away is the unique nature of grazing extension projects that involve digital technologies in the Queensland rangelands. We hope to be able to put our learnings together with those of the technology providers and the graziers into a guide that provides a full framework for the successful delivery and adoption of ag tech projects in the remote beef industry. And so that's the core aim and objective of the project, is to provide a lasting legacy that can help people into the future with their journey and transition towards a more digital, technology-heavy future for the industry. Thanks a lot for your time this afternoon, guys. I'm happy to take some questions from you.
You just said you're happy to take some questions. Just we're looking in that Q&A live pane at the moment. It does take a moment to load. So, John, Heather Neely would like to know, which technologies do you see generating the most interest in your region?
I tend to find that it's the ones that are the most along their commercialisation journey. So things like your remote water monitoring technologies. They've got a really obvious value proposition to the graziers, so they're easy to understand, and they're filling an immediate sort of role or responsibility on the place. And so it's the technologies that have a really tangible function that I find graziers are easier able to adopt, because it's that simple transition of sort of, instead of having a bore runner or doing your water runs, you're transferring that task out and inserting a technology to undertake that task. So we're noticing those sorts of tools to be the most frequently adopted and to have the easier adoption sort of journey.
Wonderful. Thanks, John. Great question, Heather. Any other questions coming in now?
Not that I can see.